Alright, so this is the first mode in the autumn of modes. I put all the modes in here and I'm going to pick one out randomly and see which one we're going to start today. Perfect. The Ionian mode. The first mode. There are 7 modes in each key. Ionian is the first of all of them. What I'm going to do is roll a 1d12 to figure out what note we're going to play in the Ionian. So I'm going to start with A being 1 and we'll just go up all 12 potential notes. So I got an 8, A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That puts us in E. E Ionian is a perfect thing to play on the guitar. It's E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E. And it's kind of built around the E major chord, which obviously the guitar is tuned perfectly to do. So this one should be really fun. Let's get it. The Ionian mode is also known as Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, the major scale. It is the basic root of all of the keys. It's the first of the 7 modes. And this being the autumn of modes makes perfect sense, and I'm super excited that I pulled it out of the mode lottery first. So let's take a look at a bunch of different shapes. I'm going to go through really, it's like 3.5 shapes that are super helpful when you're learning a mode. So that's what I call a vertical shape, where we're playing, moving up and down the strings, but we're avoiding position shifting as much as possible. That pattern again. I also want to note, this was the first scale pattern I think I ever learned. It's certainly the first that I remember learning. And when I was in school, I would sit on my desk like this and practice the scale, ascending and descending regularly. All the way through college, I would do stuff like that, where I had an idea and I was working through it. You don't have to actually be at the guitar to play the guitar. So let's take a look at that shape one more time. Super helpful, and it's very easy to kind of move up and down it regularly. While I'm playing, I can kind of come in and out of that shape all the time. So while editing this video, I realized that I should bring up an earlier video I had done called Patterns for Lead Guitarists. And what it really does is just go over patterns that you can apply to scale shapes like this, and it'll really help you learn them if they're new to you. Check that out. I'll put a card up top and a link in the description as well. Once you find your root on the high E or the low E, you can come in and out of that shape very regularly. Let's take a look at a horizontal pattern, which would be, instead of trying to move between the strings, we're going to stay on a single string. I'm going to find an E anywhere. So here I'll start with this E in the 5th fret on the B string. And the pattern for our major scale, or our Ionian mode, is a whole step, half, whole, half. So whole step, half step, whole, half. Harder to say than it seems like it would be. But yeah, practice that. If it's new to you. And then try adding some techniques to it. I like to do hammer-ons and pull-outs when I'm learning a scale. Or slides. You can try doing both of those where you skip over one note, so you're playing the thirds. Or slides. Really helpful to get the pattern again into your brain and kind of into your playing. And you can even do weird stuff like trying to slide to each of the intervals. A little hard on that last one. Let's try it in the other direction. That actually felt pretty good. And I might not play like that very often, but it's nice to have that technique available, and it will help me understand how not just the shapes are on the guitar, but how it sounds to be in this mode. Let's take a look at that third and a half. It's like kind of 3.5 shapes that we're going to go over. And it is 3 notes per string, which is a favorite of like shredder guitarists, like Yngwie style guitarists. So you'll notice that that is the same notes as this vertical pattern, except we're playing 3 notes on each one of the strings. And we can play that also with a root on the A string, and it's just a little bit different because you position shift between the G and the B. It's good to know both versions of it. The one with the root on the low E is the most common for sure. And then we can keep extending it higher than the root. And what we've got there is that the pattern on the low E and the A is the same. The pattern on the D and the G is also the same. And guess what? The B and the high E are the same. So it's, you know, people like to, through the notes, they like to move pretty quickly. Oops. Played a different mode. We'll get into that one eventually, early on. But what we can also do when we get to the highest note is move up a full step to the B, the next note, the 5th of our root. If the theory stuff doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. The idea is that this scale pattern, that's a much more natural kind of ending note, and then we can apply 3 notes per string on the way down. It's a little bit different there than on the way up. It's not the exact same, it's not in 2-string groupings like it was on the way up, but it's very, very close. And of course we can play that an octave lower with, instead of the 12th fret, I'm going to use an open string. So yeah, the Ionian mode is like the happiest mode. It's the root. It's the relative major root of the key. So you can always, if you're playing in a key and you know the chords that you're playing in the key and you want to make it end happy or sound happy, this is the place to start or end to kind of resolve to the happiness or to build up some happy stuff. So let's try that again in a different key. Here, another common one, G major. That's our vertical pattern, shape. Our horizontal one would be, we can find any G. Let's do it an octave lower here. Or maybe even on the open G. Ooh, that was actually pretty musical. And of course we got our 3 notes per string. But one of the most useful things about learning all 3 of these patterns is that once you know where the roots are, on the high and the low E strings, you've got those 3 note per string versions with the root on the low E. The root on the high E will get you in and out of the vertical patterns, and then you can use the horizontal ones to connect them. So for instance, really, really useful stuff to be able to do that. All the patterns are over here. Let's put this into work in the jam song. have it, the Ionian mode, the first of the 7 modes, our relative major key, and probably the happiest set of notes you could play. You can probably see that that's why I called this video Sunny Side Up. This is, of course, the autumn of modes. This is the second video in it. The first one was called Modes Equal Moods. And if you want to check that out, it's really about how we got the modes and kind of an overview of what modes are. If that's still kind of a mystery for you and you're not sure how to apply them in your playing, I think that can go a long way to help you out. I'll put a card up there and a link in the description as well. So make sure you like and subscribe, because I'm going to go through all of the modes during this autumn of modes that I'm doing. And once I'm done with each of the modes, I'm going to talk about stuff like modal interchange and what modes you can use on top of borrowed chords, which can really help with your songwriting and your lead playing. So I post a longer video like this every Tuesday, and then on every Friday I post a shorter video on what I call Fretboard Fridays. I hope to see you there. Oh, and also in the description is a link to sign up on my email list, which will get you access to the Guitar Chord Survival Kit. I think you'll find that useful as well. Keep jamming. I'll see you soon. Cheers.